He goes, listen, man, if I were you, we do slide, run, slide to start every practice, right? Little warm-up drill. Jeff goes, Chris, I would do slide, run, slide right out that you know what door and keep on going.
That's a nice, Kurt, you just made me, when you said injured. David Blue and I spent a lot of time together riding side by side on the stationary bike. And, you know, David didn't talk that much. Or maybe he just didn't talk to me.
Gene, still don't. Ask my wife.
The fact that you're here is mind-blowing to me. Thank you so much, the fact that you're here. But like before you came on, Dave, I said a couple words about everybody. So I didn't get a chance to say those words about you. And what you meant to me was, even though you were injured, you came in there every single day, dog. And whatever work you had to put in, you put in. And we all know treatment. Nobody likes treatment. We're young men. We think we can just bounce back from anything and we can skirt around treatment. You took your treatment serious. You had every intentions of trying to get better and that was, for me, that helped me because, you know, my freshman year, I was lucky enough to get a little bit of time. But when I got hurt my sophomore year, I came back, you know, there was nothing there. And, you know, I just reflected back on that when we were thinking about this call. And I just wanted to thank you for that. Your resolve was impressive, dude.
I didn't know I was doing something to help you, Gene.
Well, it's amazing when you get to be 60, you know, you start reflecting back on these things. And that's why, you know, getting this group together was really important. You know, whether we have 5 people watching or 5,000 people watching, this, you know, and Markham says, I say this every time we do a show. This is my favorite show. And I'm going to say this every time I do a show because, look, what we went through, and we kind of touched on it, was no picnic, was no swan song. The results are obviously, I think we all had, in terms of win-loss, except for Ray, we all had, you know, numbers that we're impressed by. But again, Ray's on this call because we're all connected to him, and like I started this thing with, he's just my best friend and will always be my best friend forever. Yeah, I just wanted to share that with you, Dave. That meant a lot to me. So one question I wanted to get out to the group: highlights and lowlights of your time on the hilltop, and they don't necessarily have to be basketball related. And we'll start with you, Kanai, because you were only there a year, so yours should be pretty vivid.
Vivid? Well, the highlight was, the friendships that I made, really. Guys, that I still remain in contact with, like Jeff, Eric Smith, Hancock, you, obviously. That's probably the highlight of my experience there. Low lights, oh man. I had an
Jeff just crossed his arms. He just crossed his arms.
Yeah. They weren't. I mean, really, it was more just I had some expectations about what my college experience was going to be about, and I didn't feel like that was going to be a possibility at Georgetown. And so, like I said, I made the decision that I should look elsewhere for my education as well as my basketball. And actually, all of it turned out pretty well. Mm-hmm. I ended up getting drafted by the Bucks and had a good opportunity to make the team there. And done a lot of different things in my career. So that turned out, I guess, for the best. So
let me ask you a question before we move on to somebody else. Do you feel like a Hoya?
No, honestly. Just because of the fact that I was only there a year. I even kind of questioned whether I'm actually an alumnus. I guess the definition of alumni or alumnus is that you've went to school there, to a particular school for a year. So I guess by definition I am, but.
Well, I'm going to speak for everybody on this. I'm going to speak for this group. You are a Hoya, dude, whether you want to be or not. So, yeah.
Yeah. Let me just throw in there. I mean, Ray was kind of had to be coerced or gently coerced into attending this. And the one thing that I told him, 1 year, 3 years, it's a fabric of your being. It's part of your history. Whether it was the most pleasant of histories, we don't need to get into. But I agree with Gene, because 1 year there, your contributions, you practiced, you played, you sweated with the rest of us. It wasn't the greatest experience for you. We understand that, but as I said, and when you finally agreed, and I'm grateful as well to see you, my comment was it is part of your history, and that can never be erased.
55. David Blue, you're up next because you had 2 numbers, and what was that all about?
I have no idea. I don't even recall that.
Okay, I'm going to send you a photo.
I'm 52. When you sent me that text, I'm scratching my head. But my memory's not what it used to be. So, but I didn't recall that. And the highlight is just the friendships I made.
Your audio, Dave, your audio.
My audio, did it turn off?
You're good. You're good.
You're
Yeah,
back.
you might have to stay hunched.
Okay. So, I mean, what I was saying is just the friendships that made on the team and the shared experience we all went through, both good and bad. One of the bad was, I remember, not that bad, but trying to get some sleep. We were at a tournament down in San Diego. Somebody must have given credit.
Can't hear you again.
David,
You guys hear me?
there you go.
Yep,
Stay
yeah.
close like that. Yeah.
Okay. So someone must have given Estrich some lip, and it was, I don't know, maybe 11 o'clock, and there was a team meeting called. Can't remember what year this was. It was junior year or sophomore year. And so we all get called to coach's suite, and for the next 2-3 hours till like 1-2 o'clock in the morning, we're all trying to stay awake. He's waiting for someone to fall asleep and show that they're drowsy and sleepy-eyed. And it just went on and on and on. How he cussed us out, and no good this, no good that. And it was brutal. I don't know who said what to Eschrick, but we all took the brunt of it. But that was the whole thing. We all shared those experiences.
Yeah.
That's what I value. I was a good player. Very, very, very fond memories of it.
All right, Curtis. Highlight, low light.
Yeah. I mean, my major takeaway, the sort of life application highlight was just frankly getting the chance to, can you hear me?
Yep.
Just being a part of the whole program, being able to go there, have the impact. I mean, when I think about walking through those gates as an 18-year-old kid, and when I left there after my senior year, just the impact the whole place had on me academically, socially, athletically. And I was lucky. I had those bad moments too, but for whatever reason, I just was lucky to get, be treated pretty well. So that was my highlight. The low light was probably, you've talked about these injuries, your sophomore year in college, when you're in athletics, that's your key, maybe not anymore because of the one and dones, but back then you had to have a good sophomore year. You usually didn't play much your freshman year, and your sophomore year was your pivot year to either, solidify a position to play a lot junior, senior. And I had a pulled groin my whole sophomore year, and I was out. And Freddie had come in, and Freddie established himself. And so I got on the slippery slope and no playing time right after that. I spent the summer playing baseball. And, frankly, the low light for me, irrespective of probably what he was saying to me when he recruited me, I always thought I should be playing all the time. It's amazing.
That was you. But Kurt, that was you. Yeah.
Yeah, it's amazing what your egos are like at that age, and you're not really tuned into reality, right? Seriously. And so my low light was not playing enough. And I have another pretty funny story because I was Coach Krzyzewski's #1 point guard recruit as a high school senior when he was the coach at West Point. And Ray, that's when you mentioned going to Duke. Maybe I think did he recruit you to go to Duke, or was it the next year he went?
So my senior year, in probably the spring time, is when he got the Duke job.
Exactly.
And that's when he started recruiting me. He saw me
Right.
at an all-star tournament.
So
Okay.
you get recruited by him, right? So I'm thinking this guy thought I was his great, White Hope point guard. He goes to Duke. He's just taken the job. I have this sophomore year that is not good basketball-wise. I write him a letter on my typewriter, David. I sat there and typed him a letter and said, Coach K, could I possibly transfer to Duke and play for you? And it was pretty funny because I was his #1 recruit when he was at West Point. But I was not his #1 recruit going to the ACC. And he sent me back this very nice letter that says, you should just stay where you are. Coach Thompson's a good man. Basically, you can't play for me here. But that was my low light. It's just not playing more on the team, in playing time.
This is for David and Kurt. It just jumped into my head. The 79-80 season, you guys were freshmen, right?
Yep.
Can you compare that season? Because that was a pretty good season.
Oh,
That was a jump off. That was like letting people know that, okay, it's a program here. Can you compare that season to the 81-82 season where we lose to North Carolina in the championship? And if there's any stories in there to highlight that, cool. But can you talk about those two seasons in comparison to each other?
David, you want to go?
Um,
I got some stuff to say there, but real quick.
Go ahead, Kurt.
So yeah, those were the year. That was the year we closed out Manley Fieldhouse. Okay, my freshman year. Those are the experiences you're having. You got Bebe and Terry Fenlon and John Irwin and Lonnie Duran, and you've got this senior group of strong personalities setting the tone. Okay, and you're not in the Big East yet. It's the year before that, right? And when I think back to, we came within, a Big Sky finger roll against Iowa and Ronnie Lester of going to the Final Four. And that was a workman's type team with Georgetown workman-like talent that came that close. And so that to me is when you talk about standing on the shoulders of others, and Pat talks about it, and those guys, Ray commented on it. The recruiting talent, when Jeff commented on it, better and better guys started coming to school. But back in 79, 80, that set the tone for being able to believe you could actually play in that national championship game. And then sure enough, the next step is you guys win it, in 84. To me, it's all a part of a process of getting better and how that progression in life works, and being a part of this thing that was just fairly awesome to be a part of, and then it was in our fabric, as Jeff said, that's what that meant to I think the program was huge.
Now the 79-80 team that beat Maryland in the regional semifinals and should have beat Iowa in the finals. Those are all local DC guys. Then it became national guys.
That's right. That's a good point, David.
Good point. Jeff, 81-82, word on the street is that you actually were in New Orleans. What was that like for you? And knowing who you are, I already know that, but what was that like for you?
Well, if I was there, I must have been drunk. I didn't go to New Orleans. A bunch of my buds went down there. I wasn't going to go down there and torture myself. I was pulling for y'all big time. I mean, I was so happy because, the highlight is being part of the program and seeing it grow in 79-80. and what happened, the following year. And Kurt, that finger roll from Big Sky in that game against Iowa, I actually put the last ball back in, a tip in with
That's right.
like 0.2 of a second. That was pre-3-pointer. I couldn't have probably get the ball out even if we had a three-point line. But I didn't get the highlight, low light, but that was an absolute crusher. We were up 14 points in the second half, and I looked it up because my memory's like David's. It's complete shit. They shot 70% in the second half, and they shot 60% for the game. And we had just beaten Maryland with Buck Williams and Albert King, and I think Manley was on that team. Manning.
Greg Manning.
Yeah, Greg Manning. And that was just absolute heartbreak. If we talk about disappointments in terms of basketball, that was definitely a low light, because I'm like, we're going to the Final Four. Here we come. And then it didn't happen. And my highlights are from that same year as well. Closing Manley. I don't know if you guys remember this. He checked me into the game. I was so jacked up. And again, there's no 3-point line. I took a 35 or 40. I legit jacked it up from, it had to be 38 feet. And as I'm going up, I'm like, what are you doing? And then the best part was, though, the rebound came back to me. So I don't think I got back in the game, but I was 0 for 1, and I had at least 1 rebound.
Yeah.
So I wasn't in New Orleans for the 81, 82. I didn't go down for that, but I was watching y'all on TV and pulling for you big time.
I know you were. Okay, I'm gonna wind this down now because we're at about an hour. And I just keep thinking of Ed Spriggs when I had him on. And, it got to be about 30 minutes. And he started looking at, I could see his leg tapping underneath the table. So we're at an hour, so I'm going to wind this down. Ray, I just want to hit you with, what was it like playing against Georgetown after you left? Did it take on any added, for you, like, were you a little bit more jacked up? I'm asking you this knowing that it probably didn't, but I'm asking you anyway. Did it take on any? Yeah.
Well, obviously, since I knew everybody pretty much, there was there's always, the excitement of playing against your buddies, especially, at the level that we were playing. So that was always, fun. What was funny, I have this one instance where we were playing and Mike Graham was on the team, and he was talking trash to me. And I was like, man, we know each other. Why are you talking trash to me? So it was, there was just that, the whole, you're playing against your buddies and you want to go hard kind of thing. But it didn't really add anything like I really want to get revenge or any of that kind of thing. It was just, that excitement of playing against your old buddies and things like that. So that was about it.
Yeah, you have to sit out. Go ahead, Jeff.
No, I just say I love Mike. His intensity was unmatched, but that trash talking, I played against him in a men's league tournament in Haverty Grace, Maryland, and he talked shit from the time the first tip till he was walking out the door. So I wouldn't take that personally.
No, I didn't. I thought it was funny, actually.
Ray, did you have to sit out a year, or were you able to play right away?
No, I had to sit out a year.
Because I think it was Gene. I think it was Freddie's freshman year. I don't know if anybody remembers this, but we went up to Providence, and this is back when you could, guys would start getting in fights, and the benches would clear. And we were getting our ass kicked. I'm pretty sure it was Freddie's freshman year. It would have been my sophomore year. Jeff, you must have been there. And we were getting killed by Providence, and Freddie was frustrated, and a guy went in for a wide open layup on Providence's team, and right as he took off, Freddie did a South Bronx special and hit him right in the middle of his back as he took off, and literally almost flipped him. And the bench is cleared. Coach Thompson's out there. It's his alma mater. We're all getting ready to fight at Providence, and we had to get everything back, and it was pretty uncomfortable. Remember that, Jeff?
Yeah, I got a fight story. We played American at American, and I have no idea what happened or how it all went down.
Was it the chop in the back?
Look, it could be. I know it was American, and here's why I remember it, because we were studying film of it, of the fight and how everything went down. And it could have been me, because Tom Skates, lovely
human
mountain
being.
of a man. But one of us on the bench grabbed him like this in a bear hug from behind, and Coach Thompson stopped the tape and he went off. And we're like, what's going on? He goes, if you are ever in a fight, do not grab a man like that. He can't fucking defend himself. And there's the last 2 of my quarters.
David, do you have a fight story?
Well, I have a story, but it never ended up in a fight. I mean, we were.
You're gonna have to come close. Your story is real. We gotta hear you. We gotta hear you.
It's just, we were at Syracuse, Carrier Dome. We got. I don't remember the particulars, but I remember we got screwed by the.
You got to lean in, Dave.
You guys hear me?
Yeah,
Yes.
now we can.
So we just got beat by Syracuse in the Carrier Dome. I don't remember what year this was. I'd never seen Coach so hot. We got screwed by the officials, and it was like a homer, even though, well, I guess homer still happened back then. He was so pissed, and I remember being in the locker room, and he was taking the temperature high for everybody. And he said, look, when we go out of here, and there was something happening with the fans in the stands, and it was a chippy game, as they usually are.
With Syracuse, yeah.
With Syracuse, and he was so freaking pissed and how wronged we were. He said, if someone lays a hand, does anything, he goes, it's on. It's on. We're going. I mean, I never heard him say anything like that. I mean, I never seen him so mad in my life in the 4 years that I was there.
Was it little bubble?
Oh yeah. Oh, for sure. Nothing ever transpired, but I mean, he told us all. This is the coach telling all your players, throw down. We leave here, someone looks at you funny.
All right. Like I said, we're winding down. I want to throw out certain players, and I kind of want to get comments from you on that individual player. Lonnie Dorn. Anybody can start.
Best trash talker. Taught me well.
Better than Michael Graham?
Well, I didn't have the pleasure of playing with Michael. So.
Neither did Jeff until later.
Lonnie's the definition of Hoya loyalty, man. Even to this day, you look and he's the guy sitting right behind that bench supporting Pat. You know, he's quite an example for all of us as a former player. That's what I would say about Lonnie.
I work at Sirius XM, and I see Lonnie all the time because he lives in the neighborhood where Sirius XM's site is down here in DC. And I talk to him. And he's always like, "Hey man, you want to come to the game with me?" And I'm like, "You know what? I don't think they really want me there, but I really appreciate the offer."
I just want to add, and Jeff, we can end with you on Lonnie. I just want to add, I agree with what both Dave and Kurt said. And I just remember being a freshman, coming in as a freshman. And to me, Lonnie taught me how to act while I'm on the bench. Like, be in the game. Like, just because you're not playing, don't think you can't contribute. And, you know, he took that to another level. So when I look at Hoya games, I find myself invariably looking on the bench to see what they're doing, because we took that bench shit serious. Like, you know, you were gonna hear from us like we were a legitimate six man. At least that's the way I remember it. So that's Lonnie, and to this day, Lonnie is my triple OG. right? So if I got something going on and I think I'm, stressed or whatever, I call Lonnie and we're talking about something completely different, right? But I'll get a nugget of something that lets me know, okay, yeah, this is not about me. So yeah, Lonnie is that sensei for me. Yeah. Jeff, anything on Lonnie?
Yeah, well, I can be dissuaded from this, but as far as I can remember, Lonnie was the originator of the term pipehead. Big John would always, in those meetings, he'd be smoking a pipe occasionally, and Lonnie liked to keep it light. So in the locker room, what pipehead up to today? What's he going to put us through? And the other thing is, Lonnie didn't get a lot of playing time, not because he didn't deserve it, or maybe it was. But he used to come into this when we go to the middle after everybody was introduced, and he's in there, get me some PT, get me some PT. And in order for that to happen, we had to blow people out. So he was basically asking us to blow people out so he could get in the game.
Awesome.
Right.
Awesome. That's awesome. Mike Hancock. And Ray, I'm gonna let you start with Mike Hancock, please.
Oh man, as crazy as Mike is and funny, he, to me, I looked up to him as a freshman, and throughout years after that, I always kind of just have a lot of respect for him. Just when you talk to him, obviously when you're in a big group or in the locker room or something like that, he's cracking jokes and doing funny things and all that. But he's definitely a guy that I have a lot of respect for. And that's, that's pretty much it.
Yeah, Dave and Jeff, you kind of played the position. You guys played the same position, so
Yeah, but Hank's classic. He's
classic.
His dry sense of humor is unmatched. I love the guy. Loved him. Good player, really good player. Obviously, I didn't get much playing time. He was in front of me, but loved him like a brother.
I was in front of you. So.
Yeah, that's right. That's right.
But this is the thing. What you just said, Dave, about him not getting any playing time, you let him tell it. Hey man, he didn't get any time.
I got no time. I was like, Lonnie, give me some playing time.
Yeah, Hank is a special dude. I think David nailed it. His sense of humor was just,
unmatched. Yeah,
it'd come around the bend and slap you in the back of the head. But I remember going into class with him, and he had this briefcase, and he plopped the top of the briefcase up, and he'd fall asleep behind it. I always thought that, and still get great grades, which is a testimony to his intellect. But Hank went over to Ireland and played after his senior year, and I was there as well. And we squared off in some tournaments. We played one game. I got like 47, and he got like 42 or something.
I want that tape. I want that tape.
Wow.
Yeah. We matched up a couple of times, but I've got this photo. I have no idea where it is. Hank went baseline, and I'm white man can't jump, but I got good timing and anticipation. And he put the ball up kind of short on the left-hand side of the backboard, and I went up there and got it. And I don't know how I got on some message board, and I started, I just like, yeah, Hank and I played in Ireland. I said, I got a picture of me pinning his shit. And so I'm flying into Atlanta. Who's on the plane? It's Hank. And he goes, hey, Bullis, I heard you were talking shit about me. I was like, did you hear that? And so I actually sent him a copy of the picture because I don't think he believed it. But anyway, he's off the charts, great guy. Just love him.
No doubt.
Kurt, anything?
Just on Hank, man, he was a guy you didn't think he cared much. He was so light and like he was a non-giving a you-know-what guy. But you know what? He cared so much. He'd be so pissed if he missed a shot or he got pulled out. And then he acted so much like he didn't care it that you thought. And then over the years I've watched, and he's one of the most loyal attendees of the games of all the teams since we all left. He's anytime he's always there. And it just was a marker for me of someone that he tried to make it seem like this experience didn't mean a lot to him, but it obviously did to this day. He's still around and celebrating being a part of it, you know, which that sort of dichotomy in his personality is one of the things I think we all find very special.
Very special. The only thing I want to add is Hank and Jeff Bullis, for me, represented how to deal with the storm.
Yeah.
Because there were just days there that you're like, I don't know how I'm gonna get through this. And you know, Hank had a way, Jeff had a way, and it's not that they were above it, but it just felt like to me they processed it differently, and I kind of watched that, and I tried to emulate that my senior year. So like by the time I got to be there to see anything that was said kind of rolled off me. I tried to be the first one there and the first one to leave, because if you guys remember, did Hancock have a shower? Like he was out of there so quick, right? So I kind of tried to model myself after that. But yeah, and Jeff, you're on the call, and I don't know if I've ever told you that, but I'm telling you now, like you guys helped me in terms of how to navigate, because you know, it's a bitch. I mean, 40 hours, like Kurt said it during the summer. I spent the summer trying to act like I was working on a jump shot. But I just remember in the kennel league, I could hear Big John up there going, "Don't shoot that." I'm like, it's the kennel league. So yeah, I mean, and the last individual I want to mention is Johnny Irwin. So if we can go around the table and give Johnny Irwin a shout out, I'd appreciate it.
I think Jeff needs to start on Johnny I.
Johnny I, man, he had the biggest afro I've ever seen on a white man. He was typical New York, but you know, talk about somebody that could keep it light. I never saw that guy without a smile on his face. And he was super special too. I kind of figured out my skill level. I think this must have been my sophomore year. Not that I didn't know it watching Sleepy his freshman year, but after practice one time, which this didn't happen a lot, but we played a little 3-man game, me and Johnny and Sleepy. I think it was 21, and I think I got 2 points. Johnny didn't score, and Sleepy had 21. But yeah, Johnny will walk on. Should have slid right out the side door on slide to sides, but he stuck it out with a really great attitude. He was a great teammate.
Who wants to go next?
Johnny,
I'll jump
Johnny,
in.
first thing I think he won every single line to line.
Yeah.
Every single time, for the whole year I was there as a freshman, he won it every single one. 100%.
100%.
Yeah, he always had a smile on his face. He was always laughing. But I don't know. I think Terry had a bigger afro though, Bull. I remember coming in as a freshman, and him and Johnny I think they roomed together. They were off campus, which I never thought was permissible. They were off campus, and we had 2-a-days. And you know, I'm this freshman coming in. We just started practicing, so it was probably October 15th, 16th, 17th. It was an unseasonably warm day, and I remember going out to their off-campus place in between the 2-a-days, and they sat me down and they started giving me wisdom that they've learned over the years and how to get through, you know, not just 2-a-days, not just the practice, but for the next 4 years. And I just remember they just had such a great attitude. It was light, it was funny, it was memorable for me.
Who was that, Dave? Was that who was with Johnny I?
Terry.
All right. So let me fill in the gap for you. He wasn't supposed to be off campus. I roomed with him freshman year and sophomore year, but I never saw him. I saw him on the court. He had a girlfriend off campus. So Johnny might have been dropping in, but Terry lived with his girlfriend and I had a single. And so he used to keep like 3 pair of socks and a pair of underwear in his drawer. So when somebody come in and check, but I was a single in Darnell and New South. He was living with Helene, who became his wife ultimately. So
Okay.
Well
yeah.
done. Hoya connection.
Mhm.
Oh, my deal with Johnny I is just a soul of the earth. I don't know if he told me about winning every line of the line, but I tried to win every line of the line, Kurt.
You did. I filmed it after him.
He he meant a lot. He meant a lot to me, just in terms of, and this is mostly post Georgetown, but just in terms of just being there, staying connected to the program. I really, part of the Hoya locker room is sharing with people how really cool these individuals are that come through this program that you don't even know about. And, you know, just the relationships, because we're together every freaking day, right? Good, bad, or indifferent. I mean, we got shit going on campus, you know, stuff from home, and just the bond that I have with, you know, this group and beyond. I just want to share that with the, you know, the people who are coming after us, like the current people, for them to understand like what that name on the front of the jersey means. So Johnny I to me is what the name on the front of the jersey means, right? So yeah, I like the fact that he was on that call we had, Kurt, with Big John, was Big John's tribute.
Yep.
Was huge, like, you know, because as we mentioned about Hank, these are people that you may think that don't care, but they really do. Like this thing, and yeah, that's just an awesome program, and that's what all Hoya locker room is about.
Well, he was the
you
first
would-
walk-on that got a scholarship, and then just think about that. How many times that happened in the past? I mean, afterwards, right? There was a lot of guys that walked on and then got offered a scholarship. He was the first guy, I think.
I'll take Johnny I over all of them.
Yeah.
Sorry, Jeff.
Yeah, no. So it's all right. So you and Johnny I won, you know, we're dueling it out for first place, and I never finished anything but dead last. I had that distinction.
No, Mike Frazier was on that team, dude. You were not last, okay?
Okay,
As long as you beat the clock, we didn't care if you're dead last.
We didn't care.
As long as you beat the clock, and we didn't have to run again.
Then we had the managers faking that we didn't touch the lines. Oh, that pissed me off. And you know dead well, Bullis didn't touch the line. It's like, hold on, I touched it. He just wanted to make us run more. Anyway.
So yeah, fellas, this has been great. We're on much longer than I thought we would be. So I'm going to thank each and every one of you for sticking it out. The bonus question, what was it like? And Kurt already referenced it earlier. So that's why I delayed it for as long as I could, Kurt, to the last question. What was it like? And again, this is the 80s. So we're not living in this diversity, inclusion, you know, empowerment world that we're in now, or equality world we're in now. What was it like being the minority on the team, but the majority on campus? Were there any challenges? Were there any bonus points? Did they think you were cooler? Like, what was that like, if anything at all? Because from my vantage point, if I saw you guys on campus, it was the normal heads up, what's up, see you later. Or if anything, I was like, damn, I don't want to see that guy again, because I'm getting ready to see him for the next 5 hours. But what was it like for you three individuals in that regard?
For me, it was second nature. I mean, it was, I don't know. I mean, some of you guys may know Will Rogers around DC. Well, Will and I went to high school together. He was a junior. He lived with me for a year up in Frederick. When my high school coach was trying to develop what Oak Hill became, what Stu Vetter created at Prospect Hall, where I went to school. But he was stymied by the administration. Anyhow, Will came up lived with me for a year, I used to go down to his place down in DC. I can't remember where he lived now, but and spend the days and nights at his place. So I mean, coming to Georgetown and being a minority on the team, I never gave it a thought. Never gave it a thought. I mean, I was comfortable from day one. It was never even a thought.
No campus issues, nobody whistling in your ear,
No.
nobody.
No.
Yep.
I had a great time, made some great friendships on and off the team. I had a great experience, even though, I mean, I wish I played more. We all wish we played more.
I think we all have that in common.
Yeah, we all have that in common. But, no, I had a great experience. If I had to do it all over again, I'd do the same thing.
I don't think any of us, and I can't speak for Kurt and David, but if that had been a consideration, being a minority within, majority in the locker room, we probably wouldn't have come there. I mean, my personal experience, I grew up on a dairy farm starting around 7 years old, and we had families that would come and work there, and we'd give them housing and they would work, and there was a lot of turnover, but we had several minority families come through. Some of my best friends growing up were people I was out in the field picking rock with. So I didn't see color, certainly in the locker room. You guys were just my teammates. I mean, I had more trouble on the hill with all those preppies. I can't tell you the number of Lacoste alligators I bit off of shirts at parties and got away with it somehow. But, the minority thing just never, to David's point, I never thought about it. We were teammates.
So I did notice, and because I grew up in the lily white suburbs of Chicago. There was only one African-American player in our conference, and notwithstanding all the recognition I got, he was the most talented player and probably the best player in the conference, but probably didn't get his due. I forget his name, but he was just so talented. And so when I always thought it was a gift that I was given to be able to be a part of that group. And for me, it was there's some cultural exposure that I got to what was life like inside that locker room, and
Learned about that do-rag that Ray used to rock.
the do-rag. I seriously,
He doesn't need it anymore.
I went on in life and thought, people would accuse me of being a good dancer and having rhythm. And I always tied it back to shit. I grew up in my formative years with Luther Vandross and Prince every single day, in the locker room. That's where I picked up some rhythm, notwithstanding living with David Blue for 3 years, listening to AC/DC. But no, so seriously, I noticed it and I thought it was a gift I was given to be allowed to learn from and adjust and be a part of that, even though it was no big deal. I never saw it as anything other than kind of normal, like Jeff and David said. It was still something I didn't notice. Now, I also, on the other hand, socially, I felt super lucky because socially, even though you were a part of this unique group that got a lot of recognition on campus, David and I don't know, speak for Jeff, could jump back in socially, and we had all these friends, and that it was easy to be social. And I always remember thinking how hard it might have been for you guys to maybe have the same kind of social college experience that you might have had at a different school, that maybe it was the other way around. So that's it was a dichotomy again for me of noticing those two aspects.
And I just want to add, because the reason why I asked the question, because I knew there was no issue for you three as it related to the team, because I was there.
Yeah.
Outside of maybe the radio every now and then.
Oh my God.
What would you say?
DC 101 twice.
The radio. Yeah.
Oh, the radio.
Go ahead, Kurt, tell
You
him.
had to be a senior to control the radio?
Yeah. Well, until we
David,
became
you tell the
seniors,
story, David. Gene, you've already
until
heard
we
me tell
became
the story,
seniors,
'cause I told
we
you.
were the only two seniors on the team. And so the seniors are supposed to control the radio.
David,
And I came in and I turned it on DC 101.
David, you fucked it up.
That
okay?
lasted for about a day.
No. That's not the story, okay? Junior year, David and I know we're going to be the only two seniors on the team the next year. And David, you cost us this. It was always seniors controlled the radio. That was always the thing. And David, everyone knew, was a rocker. And so he starts talking trash as in the preseason. And
I don't remember this.
October 15th about, hey guys, I'm getting a hold of this radio. And somebody went back door to Big John, and he shows up in the first day of practice and says, gentlemen, we got a new rule on the radio. Majority rules.
Dave, that was the one time you were vocal.
Yeah. The benevolent dictator that he was.
I was like, David, man, you should have shut the hell up.
So the point I was making is that I knew you three had no issue within those walls, right? The walls we were in. And Kurt, you mentioned how it must have felt for us on the hilltop.
Yep.
Reverse. And that just leads me back to Ray Knight. Because even though I was more naturally extroverted than Ray on the hilltop was a social butterfly.
It's true.
In Ray's way. Like, it's not like he went out of his way, but he broadened my horizons as socially. And like I said, when he left, that was a void for me. But the hilltops.
You did an excellent job of filling that void. We can't talk about those stories, but
this is a Hoya locker room, so I don't know. This is basketball. I don't know what you're talking about. So for me, you know, and I'm not trying to, you know, champion the hilltop in terms of diversity and they doing all these great things. The 80s were the 80s, right? But there was a lot of acceptance, and there was a lot. If it was new, people weren't afraid of it. But you know, basketball is that denominator that kind of brings people together, and I think it just broke down a lot of barriers. But I'm glad we had you guys on the team, right? And I just think, you know, I mean, it should be organic. It shouldn't be something that has to be thought out, right? But yeah, awesome that you guys showed up today. I love you all. Enjoy the rest of your Sunday. If anyone has a parting word, I'm overcome with joy. I'm good. But if anybody has a parting word that they want to say, feel free. If not, Jeff, you can put your pants back on. But yeah, that's all I have to say is just thank you from the bottom of my heart.
Thanks for organizing this, Gene. These are the ones I've seen. I wish I see more of them, but I think you do a great job with it, and it connects all of us from over the generations. So thank you for doing these.
Appreciate it.
Yep. Thanks, Gene. And Jeff, great to see you, man. Awesome.
Yeah, for sure.
Same for you. No question in my mind, you're a Hoya boy.
Yeah.
I appreciate it. I'll just say real quick, Gene, I appreciate your outreach. I mean, to Ray's point, which, you know, we kind of discussed, we didn't get through 4 years. Ray got through 1, I got through 3, and there's some potential to kind of disassociate. Now, I turned 60 last year, and you get more sentimental, but I realized that I was part of the program. I helped win games. I helped lose games too, but we won't get into that. But I'm grateful that Gene, you in particular, are kind of a hub, you know, on the spokes going out to multiple generations of ex-Georgetown players and current Georgetown players. And just kudos to you for being just a great person you are. You mean a lot to me. And Kurt, David, excellent to see you. Miss you guys.
Yeah.
Miss you guys. Love you guys.
All right.
Great seeing you, Bull. I reminisce about that Rolling Stone concert we went to many times. I tell stories to my daughters.
Yeah. We're not going into that, I'll tell you.
No, we got to go.
Awesome, guys. Love you. Enjoy the rest of your Sunday. let's stay in touch. You know, if anything has come from this dreaded thing we're going through is opportunities like this. But I'm going to do my best to reach out. Kurt and Dave, I need to see you guys physically. Jeff, I'll get to see you because I got people in Atlanta, and Ray, you're in DC. But let's be intentional about seeing each other, man, if we
All
can,
right. Good
when this
stuff,
thing
man.
is done.
Take care, guys.
All right.
Take care, guys.
All right.
Great seeing you guys.
Good
Well,
seeing you guys.